You're listening to Mike and Rob's SmackDown Self-Destruction on the AngryMarks Podcast Network. I am your host, Mike Poulin, and I am joined every week by my co-host, Rob Fields. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Good evening, everyone. I am pretty great.
We've got. Were you able to see Backlash?
Yes.
So I know.
got to see
Okay,
Backlash.
good. So we'll get into that first then.
Alrighty.
So on Backlash, we had a pre-show match first with Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews.
Yeah.
Which is odd considering how early the title match started that they couldn't just squeeze this in before that.
Right, but I got to see the tail end of that.
This is a fine match. Corbin gets the win, and he wins with the end of days on Apollo. Right. Apollo doesn't seem to be connecting well with basically anybody, and I think it's partially because they called him up too quick. Absolutely. And then we go to the main show, which starts off with Daniel Bryan and Shane talking in the ring and introducing the women's title, which is going to be our first match, which is Becky, Natty, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Bella, and Carmella. And this was really good, which I was surprised by because it's basically, not that any of them are particularly bad, although Carmella is kind of green at the moment. Yeah. But you got them all going in there, and I was surprised at how good this actually was. Yeah, and I mean,
Where they had Carmella positioned most of the time was rather interesting, at least up until closer to the end when she got eliminated.
Yeah, Alexa Bliss took the first elimination here, which, considering what would happen on SmackDown, which we'll talk about, is kind of surprising. Right. You think maybe they would have her eliminated closer to last here. Right. But Alexa, I think Naomi because they did a bunch of spots, they basically did a bunch of spots for the first 10 minutes of the match.
Yeah. So, it was definitely an interesting match, and I'm glad to see that Becky did come out at the end as the first women's champion of SmackDown.
I was glad too, because I love it when you can tell that the people that win are actually genuinely happy about winning the titles they win.
Absolutely.
And she seemed like she was. Yeah.
Yeah, she was ecstatic about it.
And, of course, the first SmackDown Women's Champion is Becky Lynch. And speaking of first champions, we have the Last Chance match, which is the second chance match? Not last chance, but second chance.
Yeah, second chance
the Usos and Ryder and Mojo. And this was probably the right match to put in this spot after the opener being as good as it was. To kind of cool the crowd off a little bit. An easy heel victory for the Usos. Right,
and then they showed off one of their new outfits, which I thought it was really interesting that they decided to go all black for this, because heel turn, I actually wouldn't automatically think just go all black because you're a heel now. But
they also don't do the dance anymore, the haka dance.
Right. Through that other window, because that was entertaining to the crowd, and they don't work to the crowd anymore.
Correct. And of course, the Usos get the win, and they'll move on to face Rhino and Heath a little bit later in the show. Yep. We have a backstage segment with Miz and Daniel Bryan. Miz's contract is apparently, I guess it's not up, but they're expiring, but he wants, renegotiations or something, which is the point of this segment.
Right, because once again, he thinks he's better than everyone else and expects this to be able to be done.
And that brings us to Miz and Dolph for the IC title, which is really, really good.
Right. At least up until the end of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But they go back and forth for about, 16, the match was about 18 minutes, or 19 minutes.
Somewhere right around there.
Yeah. And, of course, you mentioned the end, which was, Dolph
getting sprayed by what I'm assuming it was by pepper spray from Maurice.
And I think Morrow called it sanitizer. It was sanitizer, one of the might have blinded him, but I think it was probably pepper spray or mace or something.
Yeah, that's what I first thought.
Yeah, and Miz hits skull crushing finale and gets the win.
Yep.
And then we have Bray Wyatt beating up Randy Orton backstage, and of course it came out before the show that Orton was not cleared to wrestle, which you'd think they'd have that, kind of figured out just before hours before not hours before the show.
Right, but I guess they pulled this backstage thing where we had Bray hurting Randy Orton's leg just to kind of put it out there that
write him out for the night.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that, and then Bray comes out and cuts a promo, and they do the whole, Bray wins by forfeit. They do the whole 10 count spot, and then, oh, by the way, he's gonna have a no holds barred against Kane for no reason at all.
Yeah, just so that the match isn't void, and it sets up for another thing in their rivalry. Coming up around the end, you see Randy Orton kind of limping down the down.
Was he limping? I couldn't tell.
He was kind of limping, but not super bad. But he does deliver an RKO to Bray Wyatt, which is totally allowed since it's a no holds barred. And so Kane comes off with a win on this one after, what was it, the tombstone?
I think it was just a choke slam, wasn't it?
Oh,
I don't think Kane
yeah, choke slam.
He did have the one spot where Bray did the splash through the table and
right.
Crowd chants holy shit and everything. And then we have I think we have a teaser here for No Mercy, which is October 9th. And then we have the tag title match with Rhino and Heath against the Usos.
All right, and honestly, no surprise here that Heath and Rhino came out on top.
I mean, it's not surprising considering the storyline going in was Heath had to win to get the contract that he wanted. And Rhino, I think, gored one of the Usos, and Heath got the handover and got that pin. And then they did a promo. He's getting a double wide, baby.
Yeah. A double wide! Okay. We'll get
and then that brings us to our main event with AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose. And was Dean getting booed? Because maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I know a lot of people were saying he was.
I wasn't quite paying attention to that either. He quite possibly could have been getting booed. This match is good. Probably Ambrose's best title defense that hasn't been against one of the Shield guys. Right.
The other Shield members. And, Ambrose, they brawled a bit in the fans, and then did the whole spot where AJ, pushes Ambrose into the ref and hits the low blow, which I like how the psychology of the feud is basically, kicking each other in the balls for no reason. For no reason. That's just the psychology of the feud for whatever reason.
Right. And then that's followed up with the Styles Clash, right?
Hey, he actually won with the Styles Clash.
Yeah. And he uses that to get the win and the title change.
Yep. And yeah, this is actually pretty for what they had on the card. This was a good start for SmackDown. I'm pretty sure the card will be a bit better for No Mercy because they won't have 6 women in one match, and they won't have all the tag teams in one situation. A little bit more fleshed out once we get to No Mercy next month.
Right, but nonetheless, I was really impressed with this pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good, solid show.
Absolutely. And
we head into SmackDown, where we start off with AJ Styles in the ring cutting a promo. And he is interrupted by
none other than John Cena.
Yep. And, Cena and AJ do their bit. Cena says, "You have something that I want," and AJ gives him back the headband.
He's like, no.
No, not that. I don't want that. I'm talking about the belt you're holding. That's what I want back.
Right.
And then Ambrose comes out and basically rails Cena because Cena's been gone for a month, and why should you get a title shot when I haven't had my rematch yet? Well, guess what? Shane comes out and says, well, we're going to do a triple threat at No Mercy. But before that, we're going to have a tag match later.
Right, and right here, Shane gives AJ the opportunity to pick his partner.
Yep. And we'll get to some of the choices later.
Yeah.
And we have a return match with the Usos against the Hype Brothers, which is very short. Which is the theme here, because there was a lot of talking on this show.
Right.
Usos pretty much, they get the win over the Hype Bros in quick fashion. And we move on to the next segment of the show, which is The Miz.
The Miz.
Talking about how, he retained over Dolph. Dolph interrupts. Dolph says, you know what? I want a rematch, and I want it in a way where Maurice isn't there somehow. Which it's rumored they're going to do a cage at No Mercy. But Miz says no, and then Daniel Bryan comes out and says, wait a minute, and then Miz just rails into him again and says, hey, you didn't renegotiate my contract, so I am not working. And leaves to the crowd.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this is leading up to something like a steel cage match.
Yeah, that's the rumor.
Right.
That's what I read on somewhere. I read somebody posted it somewhere, and yeah, that seems to be like what they wanted. I had the idea of doing what they used to do in the old school, just having Maurice put in the cage the match.
No, I don't know about that, but. I mean, I didn't even read any rumors about it. I just went off of first thought, like, this is the perfect place to have a steel cage match.
Yeah. And then, what's next? Because I'm trying to remember what was next. And I think there was a match next here. And, oh yeah, it was supposed to be Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews again. And Corbin takes out Crews before the match. And Swagger comes out. Jack Swagger's on SmackDown now for no apparent reason other than... Apparently his contract with Raw was up 2 months after the draft.
Apparently. That seemed really weird to me, but I guess if Jack Swagger wants to be on SmackDown now, then so be it.
Yep. And he's going to apparently feud with Corbin, so that'll fill out that lower card for a minute or so. What happened to Kalisto? I thought, because it seemed like they were going somewhere with that, and then he got hurt or something.
I'm not sure, but... I guess that is what happened. He might have gotten hurt. I haven't heard anything about what they're doing with Kalisto.
Okay, so we have another segment. I think we have another talk segment, but I can't remember who it was with.
I think it was an AJ segment where he was trying to find his partner, and we kind of skipped over the section before Eric Corbin faced... quote-unquote, faced Apollo Crews, and,
I said that.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, he attacked him before the bell, and that's where Swagger came out.
Yeah, I mean, AJ went to Baron to try and get him to buddy up with him in the tag team match later that night.
Corbin says, no, I'd rather face you.
Right. And so, where we've got next is AJ still trying to find his partner. He comes up to Kane, flat out says, you and me, let's go out there. And Kane just laughs it off and walks away. Next, I think was, you know better. Was it the Fatal 5-Way next?
I think we had Becky Lynch out for an interview next, and then the 5-Way, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Because there were only 3 matches on this show. Well, 3 actual matches.
Yeah. But
this is another good match. SmackDown's got a decent women's division going on right now.
Absolutely. But I kind of feel like having all 5 of them going at it again might have been a little unnecessary, but I guess it was the best way to go about it. Rather than really building up a storyline just based on one confrontation. I mean, if we were going based off of confrontations, then Alexa Bliss, even without this match, probably would have been the first pick, since they were having their own little issues before the women's title was introduced.
Oh, I think did they ever blow off Becky and Natalya? I know they had a match at some point.
Yeah, I think the rivalry between them kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, they forgot about it after the draft happened.
They had one match after the draft happened, but they didn't continue on with it.
Yeah, and of course Alexa Bliss wins, and she'll get the title shot at No Mercy.
Right.
And which brings us to
I think
a Randy Orton segment?
Oh, yeah.
Or was there a match here somewhere?
No, I think it was the Randy Orton segment.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Randy comes out and says he's not done with Bray Wyatt yet, and challenges Bray to come out. Bray cuts a promo, and then he comes out, and they have a stare down, and Eric Rowan attacks and pretty much does nothing and gets RKO'd.
Right. So it's basically showing us that Eric Rowan is realigned with Bray Wyatt again. After
he's the lackey. After Wyatt was disappointed with him.
Right, and now he has this, seems like he has some kind of a physical change other than, like, his outfit. Obviously, that one matches more to Bray Wyatt now, but...
Right. And now we have our main... Well, no, we have a backstage segment. I think somewhere in the show we skipped an AJ Styles Daniel Bryan segment when they bring in the guy that Braun Strowman beat up on Raw a few weeks back. Or one of them.
And
probably the most famous of the bunch.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually wanted to see if they could do like a serious match with him in there with AJ.
Kind of do a Colin Delaney type gimmick with him.
Right. But to my dismay, when they tried to get the match going, he walked out, The Miz attacks him, and then it's found out that The Miz is going to be AJ's partner.
Yep. And this is... Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, but hey, they make
especially since he threw the temper tantrum and walked out earlier. What did that make? That seems like weird booking. 'Cause I'm not going to wrestle, except for now.
Well, I'm thinking he wants to come out and make a point, kind of to Daniel.
I should be in the main event. Well, you kind of are, but you don't really need to be right now.
Yeah, he was just saying he's refusing to put his title up on the line, rather than like no matches at all. So he comes out here where he's trying to, I'm assuming he's trying to make a point to Daniel Bryan, who assigned the jobber in the match. So regardless, it's AJ and The Miz versus John Cena and Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, and this is fine. Obviously, they also probably needed a fall guy. Whoever the partner was going to be for AJ was going to be the fall guy because the other three guys are in the main event at the pay-per-view. So neither one of them are going to take the fall right now.
Right.
So Miz ends up taking the fall. Mm-hmm. And then Cena and Ambrose have a confrontation.
Right.
Or Ambrose is the Dirty Deeds on Cena.
Yep, sends a clear message over to John.
Yeah, and then Ambrose and AJ close the show with a stare down as AJ is on the ramp.
Right.
And that's SmackDown for this week. Obviously for No Mercy we have the triple threat, and I mean I guess they're teasing that Cena wants to be the 16-time champ. I don't know if they do that right now right at the moment. Maybe that's why Ambrose is in there to take the fall.
Right. Oh, we forgot a segment in there. I just remembered this. Heath Slater's contract signing. Oh
yeah, that. And again, they do the bit where he's about to sign the contract and somebody interrupts him.
No, that's not what happens. The
Ascension came out.
No, the Ascension came out afterward. He was able to get the contract signed clean without any interruption. Heath went on to say some stuff, and he, along the lines of, we will defend the titles anywhere, anytime, and then
against anybody.
The Ascension come out.
And they lose in about 90 seconds.
Pretty much, yeah. This was a quick match.
Yeah, the Ascension are job guys at this point. They don't like matter.
Yeah. That's
so I mean, like right when obviously American Alpha are going to be back either before or after No Mercy. They're supposed to be out for about 4 weeks because of Chad Gable's injury. So, I mean, what do you do for the tag title scene right now? Because Usos and Alpha are the big feud, which kind of puts your champions to the side.
Right.
Unless the Usos win beforehand.
Possibly, but this is something we still have to wait for it to build up all the way.
Yeah.
But something I did kind of notice, I just wanted to put this out there, is that there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect between Rhino and Heath, like, out of match wise, now that they've got the titles.
Well, yeah, I think that's also going to be, like, eventually, once they lose the titles, Rhino will turn, and that'll set up a match between those two.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking they've got to drop the titles pretty soon, considering where we've got a possible representative in Michigan. He's got to go back on the campaign trail for that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, and I mean, they did. The only reason they did the Rhino and Heath winning is to give Heath a contract. I would guess. So it makes sense for them to kind of be short-term champions to build up to a long-term feud with the Usos and American Alpha.
Right.
And I think that's SmackDown.
So yeah, now that makes SmackDown.
Yes, and for that, I think we're done for the night.
Yep. We'll be back on next